You man, I hope things are well. I want to give you a challenge this week and just kind of talk about, be honest, we talk about one of the things we don't like to talk about, which is sin. Um, we've been reading through Joshua, and they had just defeated the city of Jericho, in which God showed up. But God had told them one thing in there not to do, and we ended up finding out that somebody did it. God told them not to take any of the gold or the silver, and that was supposed to go to the Lord's treasury. So after that, we see that the Israelites, they go spy on the town of Ai, and I don't know how to say it, but it's A and then an I. So, but they went and spied on them, said, "Hey, you ain't got to send the whole army. They ain't very big." And to be honest with you, the Israelites got their butts kicked. 36 people died, and so Joshua tore his clothes, and Joshua 7:10, it says, "The Lord said to Joshua, get up, why have you fallen on your face? Israel has sinned, they have transgressed my covenant that I have commanded them. They've taken some of the devoted things, they have stolen and lied and put them among their own belongings." And so Joshua basically called the people together and found who did it, and it was Achan. And this is how they dealt with Achan. In verse chapter 8, 6, or 7:6, it says, 7:26, it says, "And they raised over him a good heap of stones that remains to this day. And the Lord turned from his burning anger. Therefore, to this day, the name of that place is called the Valley of Acre." They killed him. Basically, they called him out. He had taken the silver and the gold, and silver and a fleece, in which God had told him not to. It told the whole group of the Israelites not to do it, but he did it, and he actually hid it in his tent. And so Joshua called him out. And basically God told him to kill him, and they killed him, killed his families, killed his donkeys, took his tent, took everything, burned it, and piled it up. So kind of want to point out 5 things about sin that I kind of got reading through this chapter. And the first one is our sin is against God and God alone. Achan's sin wasn't against the Israelites, it was against God. God had told them, do not take anything for yourself, and he did. He took the silver and the stuff that was supposed to go to the treasury of the Lord, basically the tithe part of it that goes to support the Lord's work. He took that. So his sin is against God and God alone. Number 2, most of the time when we try to hide our sin, and I think we'll all agree on that. We try to hide our sin because we don't want nobody to know about it. Achan took that silver and buried it in his tent so nobody could see it. Next thing is it affects others. Israel got their butt kicked because God had taken his hand off of them because of the sin of one man. And we see that 36 men lost their life because of the sin of one man. Next thing is it affects our family. Not only did Achan die, his sons, his daughters, everything that he had worked for in his life was taken and basically burned up. So our sin affects our family. And then finally, sin has to be dealt with quickly. Once Joshua knew who it was, Joshua didn't say, you can bring it back to us and we'll just go on down the road. No. Sin had to be dealt with quickly, and that's the same way with our life. If Joshua would have let this sin continue to stay in the camp and said, you know what, it's all right. You disobeyed God, it's all right. God's hand would have continued to been off of the Israelites. And so we actually see that after they dealt with this sin of Achan, that God gave them the city of Ai. And so sin's got to be dealt with quickly. And so, guys, that's my challenge this week. We've got to remember that our sin is against God and God alone. That most of the time we're going to try to hide that sin because we don't want nobody to know about it. It's going to affect others. It's going to affect our family, and we got to deal with it quickly. Jesus talks about that if our right hand sins, cut it off. Or if our eye causes us to sin, rip it out. We got to deal with sin quickly because it leads to a road of destruction. So, man, that's my challenge. Pray about your sin. We all know what we struggle with. So pray that God shows it to you, but again, pray that God will remove it. And so that's my challenge this week, man. Deal with sin the way it's supposed to. Have a good weekend.